I was organizing my file cabinet that Tuesday morning. Nothing dramatic, just one of those tasks you put off until you can't anymore. I needed my property deed something about the homeowner's insurance renewal, and I'd been meaning to sort through the legal documents folder for months. The file cabinet sat in my home office. Oak wood, 4 drawers. I'd had it since David was alive. 43 years of family records in there. Birth certificates, our marriage license, David's death certificate, tax returns going back to the Nixon administration. Everything important, all in one place. I pulled out the folder marked Legal Documents. Thick manila folder, worn at the edges. Inside, the usual papers I expected. The property deed from 1982. David's will. My will. Updated after he died. And then something I didn't recognize. A letter. Single page, notarized seal at the bottom, embossed and official looking. I unfolded it slowly. It was dated 6 months ago. March 4th, 2024. My signature at the bottom. The letter stated in formal legal language that I, Barbara Henderson, granted my son, Michael Henderson, full access to all bank accounts, investment accounts, and financial assets for estate planning purposes, it said, to facilitate management of affairs in the event of cognitive decline or incapacity. I read it twice, then a third time. I'd never signed this paper. I'd never been to a notary named Rebecca Martinez. The seal looked real. The signature looked like mine, the loops and curves, the way the capital B connected to the rest, but I hadn't written it. I set the document on the kitchen table. My hands weren't shaking, but they felt strange. Disconnected somehow. I'd been signing my name for 68 years. I knew my own signature. This wasn't it. Or it was, but it wasn't. I picked up my phone, opened my bank app. The app I checked maybe once a week, usually just to make sure the pension deposit came through. I scrolled through recent transactions. Wire transfer, September 3rd, $4,200. Destination, M. Henderson. Wire transfer, August 20th, $3,800. Same destination. I kept scrolling. July, June, May, April, March. More transfers, different amounts, always between $2,000 and $5,000, always to the same account. My checking account balance, $8,300. It should have been over $40,000. I lived on my pension. I didn't spend much. The money just accumulated, except it hadn't accumulated. It had disappeared in increments. Over months. I looked at the document again. The notary seal. Rebecca Martinez. Michigan Notary Public. Commission expires 2027. The seal was embossed. I could feel the raised edges with my fingertips. Official, professional, real. But I'd never signed it. I sat at the kitchen table. The document in one hand, my phone in the other. Morning sun coming through the window, same as every morning. Coffee maker gurgling, same as always. The clock on the wall ticking. Everything looked normal. Everything felt wrong. 6 months of transactions I didn't authorize. A legal document I didn't remember signing. A notary I'd never met. And my son's name on every transfer. Michael. I live alone. Have for 8 years now since David died. Heart attack. Sudden. He was 63. We'd been married 43 years. The house is a 3-bedroom ranch in the suburbs. Nothing fancy. We bought it in 1982 when mortgage rates were 16%. Paid it off in 2006. It's worth more now than we paid, but I'm not selling. This is home. I taught high school English for 35 years. Retired at 63 same year. David died, actually. The timing wasn't planned. I'd always thought we'd retire together, travel, do all those things we put off while raising Michael and working. But life had other plans. My pension is decent. $3,200 a month. Social Security adds another $1,800. I don't need much. The house is paid off. I drive a 12-year-old sedan that runs fine. I'm not extravagant. The money just accumulates in checking. Or it did, until apparently it started disappearing. Michael is my only child. 42 now. Hard to believe sometimes. I still see him as the boy who brought me dandelions from the backyard, insisted they were flowers. Over the years, I helped him when he needed it. That's what mothers do, or that's what I told myself. $15,000 for the divorce lawyer when his marriage fell apart 2 years ago. That wiped out a chunk of savings, but divorce is expensive. I understood that. He was devastated. Jennifer, his ex-wife, had already moved on, met someone new. Michael was scrambling to find an apartment, pay child support, cover legal fees. I co-signed the lease on his 2-bedroom place, $900 a month for 2 years. That was another $21,000 more or less. $8,000 for private school tuition when my grandson Tommy struggled in public school. Tommy's 10 now. Sweet kid, loves baseball. The private school helped smaller classes, more attention. Michael couldn't afford it on his own, not with child support and rent, so I helped. $3,000 for the car transmission that died right before Michael's annual performance review at work. He sells medical equipment. Needs the car for client visits. No car, no job. Made sense to help. There were smaller things too. Groceries when money was tight. Gas money. Co-pay for Tommy's dental work when insurance didn't cover it. Nothing huge. Just helping. Total. I'd given Michael maybe $50,000, $60,000 over the past 2 years. Not gifts, I told myself. Investments. In my son's future. In my grandson's future. In keeping our family stable after the divorce tore it apart. I never asked for the money back. What kind of mother keeps a ledger? Apparently the kind who should have. The divorce destroyed Michael financially. Joint custody meant keeping the apartment needed space for Tommy's visits. Child support was $600 a month. Legal fees kept coming, modifications, mediation sessions, custody evaluations. And Jennifer's new husband was a cardiologist. Big house. Pool. Private schools. Michael worked sales. The comparison wasn't fair, but it was real. He worried constantly about losing Tommy. What 10-year-old wouldn't choose the house with the pool over the apartment with the leaky faucet? Michael was terrified the court would see him as the unstable parent, the one who couldn't provide. He worked doubles to make it work, 70-hour weeks. The stress aged him. I saw it, the exhaustion, the fear. Of course I helped. But 6 months ago, something shifted. Michael came by on a Sunday, April, maybe early May. We were having coffee in the kitchen, same table where I'd found those bank statements this morning. "Mom," he said, "I need to talk to you about something." I waited. "I'm worried about you being alone, with Dad gone. If something happened, if you fell or got sick, I wouldn't have access to your accounts, couldn't pay your bills, handle things." I frowned. "I'm 68, Michael, not 90. "I know, but we should be prepared. Just in case. Can I get emergency access to your accounts? Just for peace of mind?" Something about it felt off, the timing, the way he asked. I said no. He didn't push, just nodded. Said he understood. But I noticed he still had keys to my house. Had them for years. Came by to mow the lawn when I traveled, water the plants. I never thought about him having access to my home office, to the file cabinet. Why would I? He was my son. My neighbor Margaret lived next door. 72, retired nurse, widow like me. We'd been neighbors for 15 years. She had this way of noticing everything. When I accidentally left my garage door open overnight, she texted before dawn. When the newspaper sat in my driveway past 9 in the morning, she called to check on me. Some neighbors found it annoying. I found it comforting. We had coffee most mornings. 7 o'clock, my kitchen. She brought garden tomatoes in summer. I made coffee year-round. Margaret had opinions about everything politics, the HOA, the new family down the street who didn't mow their lawn. But she was loyal, fierce even. Her mother had been scammed 5 years ago, lost $50,000 to some grandchild in trouble phone scam. Margaret never got over it, never forgave herself for not catching it sooner. Since then, she watched, for everyone, especially for seniors living alone. I'd made coffee in that kitchen for 43 years, same coffee maker David bought in 1998, same blue mug Tommy painted in kindergarten, slightly lopsided permanent marker declaring, "World's Best Grandma." The routine grounded me. Pour water, Add grounds. Press start. Wait for the familiar gurgle. Some mornings, that simple rhythm was all I needed. Michael's high school graduation photo sat on my desk in the office, cap and gown, huge smile, holding his diploma. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mom," he'd said that day, 18 years old, full of potential. I looked at that photo every morning while sorting mail, past tense now. The boy in that photo was gone, or maybe he'd never been who I thought he was. I kept thinking about those wire transfers, the amounts, the timing, the pattern. Michael knew I checked my bank account maybe once a week, knew I didn't use online banking much, knew I trusted him, and apparently he'd used all of that. That afternoon, I called the notary's office. The number was printed right there on the document. Rebecca Martinez, Notary Public. I found her business online. Small office in Dearborn, 20 minutes away. A woman answered on the second ring. Pleasant voice, professional. "Hi," I said. "I'm calling about a document that was notarized by Rebecca Martinez, dated March 4th of this year." "Okay, what's the name on the document?" "Barbara Henderson." Pause. I heard keyboard clicking. "I'm sorry," she said. "I don't have any record of that name. Are you sure about the date?" I looked at the document again. March 4th, 2024, clear as day. "I'm sure," I said. "Very sure." Another pause. "Ma'am, we keep detailed records of every notarization. If we notarized a document for you, it would be in our system. It's not. Are you certain it was our office?" "The seal says Rebecca Martinez, Michigan Notary Public." "Can you send me a photo of the seal? I'd like to verify it." I hung up, hands shaking now, not strange anymore, actually shaking. The seal was fake. The notary didn't exist, or existed but never notarized my document, which meant someone had forged it, forged the seal, forged my signature, someone who knew where I kept legal documents, who had access to my house. Michael. I couldn't sleep that night. Kept thinking about the notary's voice on the phone. Professional. Certain. "We keep detailed records. It's not in our system." Wednesday morning, I went back to the file cabinet. This time, I pulled out every folder, everything. I was looking for the property deed, still needed it for the insurance company, but now I was looking for something else too, anything else that didn't belong. I found it in the folder marked Estate Planning. Another document. Same layout, same format, dated 2 months after the first one, May 12th, 2024, power of attorney, granting Michael Henderson legal authority over my financial decisions, medical decisions, property transactions, in the event of diminished capacity or at my discretion. Same notary signature, Rebecca Martinez, same embossed seal. I'd never signed this either. 2 documents, 2 months apart, both forged, both giving Michael control over my life. My hands were steadier than I expected. I set both documents side by side on the kitchen table, photographed them with my phone, then I called the bank. "Bank of America, this is Amy speaking." "How can I help you?" "Hi, I need to speak with someone about my account activity. There are some transactions I didn't authorize." "I can help with that. Can you verify your account number?" I gave her the number, heard typing. "Okay, Mrs. Henderson, what transactions are you concerned about?" "Wire transfers. Multiple wire transfers over the past several months. I didn't authorize any of them." Pause. More typing. "I'm showing several wire transfers from your checking account. Let me get my manager. Can you hold?" I held. The elevator music was something classical. Mozart, maybe. David would have known. A man's voice came on. "Mrs. Henderson, this is Tom Bradford, branch manager. Amy mentioned you're seeing unauthorized transfers?" "Yes, starting in March. Multiple transfers to an account under Michael Henderson's name. Michael Henderson is listed on your account documents as having power of attorney. The transfers were authorized under that arrangement." "What arrangement?" "I never gave anyone power of attorney." Typing sounds. "I'm looking at the document now. Filed with us on May 20th. Notarized power of attorney granting Michael Henderson full financial authority. It's in our system." My stomach dropped. I need to see my account history, all of it, since March. Of course. Can you come into the branch? I'd like to review this with you in person. I was at the bank by 10 o'clock. Tom Bradford was maybe 40, professional demeanor, genuinely concerned expression. He pulled up my account on his computer screen, turned the monitor so I could see. 17 wire transfers, March through September, amounts ranging from $2,100 to $4,800, every 10 to 14 days, like clockwork. Total, $37,400. Each transfer stayed under $5,000, Tom explained. That's the threshold for automatic reporting. Anything $5,000 or over gets flagged. These were carefully structured. To avoid detection, I said. He nodded, uncomfortable. The power of attorney document allowed these transfers. But if you're saying you never signed it, I never signed it. I never authorized any of this. Then we have a problem, a serious problem. He printed out the transaction history, stapled the pages. Mrs. Henderson, you need to speak with an attorney. This is fraud, possibly identity theft. I'm required to file a suspicious activity report, but you need legal representation. I took the papers. $37,400, my retirement savings, gone. I sat in my car in the bank parking lot, called Michael. He answered on the third ring. Hey, Mom, what's up? Michael, I need to ask you something. Did you help me with any bank paperwork in the last few months? Pause. What? No. Why would you ask that? I found some documents, legal documents, with my signature, but I don't remember signing them. Another pause. Longer this time. Mom, you've been under stress since Dad died. Remember when you couldn't find your car keys last month? You thought someone took them, but they were in your purse the whole time. Maybe you just forgot? Something cold settled in my chest. I didn't forget, Michael. Are you feeling okay? Have you been sleeping? Sometimes stress affects memory. I ended the call. He didn't ask which documents, didn't ask what they said, just jumped straight to suggesting I was confused, forgetful, losing my memory, gaslighting. That's what they called it, making someone doubt their own reality. I drove home, parked in the driveway, sat there for a minute. Margaret was in her front yard trimming the hedge that separated our properties. She looked over, waved, then stopped, walked over. Barb, you okay? You look pale. Just dealing with some paperwork headaches. You need anything, you knock, anytime. I nodded, went inside. The documents were still on my kitchen table. I spread out the bank statements next to them. Transaction history, 2 forged documents, 6 months of systematic theft. My phone buzzed. Text message from Michael. Mom, I'm worried about you. Can I come over? We should talk. I stared at the message. He'd never asked permission to come over before, always just showed up. Now he was asking, because he knew I knew something. I texted back, not today. Another buzz. Are you sure you're okay? You sounded upset on the phone. I turned off my phone. That afternoon, I went back to the bank, asked to speak with Tom Bradford again. The power of attorney document, I said, the one filed in May. Was it filed with your legal department? Is that required? He checked his computer, frowned. It should have been filed with legal for verification, standard procedure for POA documents. But I'm not seeing that it went through that process. It was accepted at the branch level. Accepted by who? The teller who processed the initial transfer. Based on the notarized document, she had no reason to question it. But it wasn't verified by your legal department. No, it should have been. That was an oversight on our part. An oversight that cost me $37,000. Tom handed me a business card, white card stock, simple black text, Linda Chen, attorney at law, elder law and estate planning. Mrs. Henderson, he said quietly, you're going to need one. The kitchen table became my war room. I spread everything out Thursday morning. 6 months of bank statements printed from the online portal the night before. The 2 forged documents side by side. Tom Bradford's transaction summary from the bank, a yellow legal pad, 3 pens, my reading glasses. The morning light came through the window at an angle, hitting the papers. I could see the embossed Notary seals clearly, both identical, both fake. I started with the bank statements. March 14th, wire transfer, $2,100. Destination, Michael Henderson, account ending in 7834. March 28th, $2,800. Same destination. April 9th, $3,200. I went through them one by one, highlighted each transfer with a yellow marker, drew a line connecting the dates. The pattern emerged like a heartbeat on a monitor, every 10 days, then 12 days, then 11. Never the same interval, but always close. Always between $2,000 and $5,000. 17 transfers total. I added them up 3 times to be sure. $37,400. Each transfer was just small enough. Tom Bradford had explained it. $5,000 triggers an automatic report to the federal government. Anti-money laundering regulations. Banks have to flag it. Michael had stayed under that threshold every single time. This wasn't desperation. Desperate people take what they need and run. This was careful, calculated. Someone who knew banking regulations, who understood reporting thresholds, who planned each amount to avoid detection. I looked at the dates again. The first transfer was March 14th, 2 weeks after the first forged document was dated. He'd waited, made sure the letter was filed away, made sure I hadn't noticed. Then he started. The last transfer was September 3rd. 3 weeks ago, he was still going, still taking money, even now. I sat there with 6 months of statements spread across the table. Each transfer was just small enough not to trigger alerts, each one careful, calculated. This wasn't desperation. This was planning. My son didn't just steal from me. He studied how to steal from me. The coffee in my mug had gone cold. I hadn't noticed. The kitchen table had hosted 40 years of family dinners, birthday cakes, Thanksgiving turkeys, homework sessions with Michael when he was small. I'd helped him with algebra at this table, taught him to write a 5-paragraph essay, made him breakfast before school every morning for 12 years. Now it held spreadsheets and bank statements and legal documents, evidence of how he'd repaid me. David would have hated this. He always said, "No work at the dinner table." But David was gone, and this was survival. I picked up the 2 forged documents, held them up to the window light. The notarized letter from March, the power of attorney from May. Same notary signature, Rebecca Martinez. Same embossed seal. Same format. Professional, official looking, completely fake. I got a magnifying glass from my desk drawer, examined my signatures on both documents. The handwriting looked right at first glance. The capital B in Barbara, the way the H connected to the E in Henderson. But under magnification, something was off. The pen pressure wasn't consistent. Some strokes were too light, others too heavy, like someone had traced over a template, slowly, carefully. I'd been signing my name for 68 years. I knew the rhythm of it, the muscle memory, the flow from one letter to the next. These signatures had the shape, but not the rhythm, like a forgery of a song. The notes were right, but the tempo was wrong. That afternoon, I called the bank again, asked for Tom Bradford. "Mrs. Henderson, I was going to call you. Our fraud department pulled the email correspondence related to your power of attorney document." Email correspondence? When a POA is filed, we send a confirmation email to the account holder. In this case, the email was sent to an address we had on file for you. But it bounced back invalid address. The system should have flagged that, but it didn't. What address? He read it off. An email I'd never used. Old format. Looked like mine, but wasn't. We also found emails between that address and our document processing department. Someone using your name asking about POA filing requirements, what documentation was needed, whether notarization was sufficient or if additional verification was required. Michael was researching, I said, making sure he had everything right. Yes, the emails are time-stamped 2 weeks before the POA was filed. Whoever sent them was planning ahead. Planning. That word again. I had an appointment with attorney Linda Chen Friday morning. Her office was in a small professional building downtown, efficient setup, law books lining one wall, framed certificates. Everything organized. She was maybe 48, professional but not cold. She looked at my documents for 5 minutes without saying anything. Then she pulled out a file. "I see this a lot," she said. "Elder financial abuse. The signatures show hesitation marks consistent with tracing, not natural signing. The notary seal is fake. I can have a forensic document examiner verify it, but I can tell you now these are forgeries. In Michigan, power of attorney documents require witnesses. These don't have witnesses. They're void on their face." Attorney Chen made a call while I was there. Detective James Parker, Financial Crimes Unit. He came to her office that afternoon, middle-aged, serious. Took notes while I explained everything. "The notary seal," he said, examining it with a small magnifying device. "Format's wrong. Serial number doesn't match any registered Michigan notary. We've seen this before. Fake seals purchased online, novelty items. We can trace the purchase. If your son used his credit card, we'll find it." He opened a case file, gave me a case number, said he'd start investigating immediately. Attorney Chen walked the detective out, then came back to her desk. "Mrs. Henderson Barbara, here's what we're looking at. Civil fraud to recover the money. That's a lawsuit. We prove he forged the documents, used them to steal. Court orders restitution. That's one path." She paused. "The other path is criminal charges, forgery, identity theft, elder financial abuse. In Michigan, that's a felony, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. If convicted, he's looking at prison time." "I'm not vulnerable," I said. "Legally, anyone over 65 qualifies. It's not about your competence. It's about the law protecting seniors from financial abuse." I looked at the documents on her desk, the evidence, 6 months of theft, systematic, planned. "Can we do both?" I asked. "Civil and criminal?" "Yes, they're separate tracks. Civil gets your money back. Criminal holds him accountable." "Then we do both." She nodded, pulled out a retainer agreement. "I need to be honest with you. This won't be easy. He's your son. Courts will ask if you want to press charges. Family will have opinions. It's going to be hard." "It's already hard." That night, I couldn't look at the file cabinet. It sat there in my office, familiar oak wood, 4 drawers. But now it felt like evidence of my stupidity, my blindness. How many times had Michael been in there when I wasn't home? How long had he planned this? The file cabinet was supposed to be safe, a place where important things were protected. Instead, it was where he'd learned what to steal. I kept thinking about the house keys. I'd given them to Michael 8 years ago, right after David died. "In case of emergency," I'd said, "in case I fall or get locked out." He'd used those keys, came into my house when I wasn't home, went through my files, found my old signatures, probably on tax returns, old legal documents, practiced tracing them, then created the forgeries, put them in my file cabinet, made it look like they'd always been there. I'd handed him the tools to rob me, given him access, trusted him completely. Attorney Chen had photographed everything, documented the timeline. The emails showed premeditation. The bank statements showed systematic theft. The fake notary seal showed criminal intent. Detective Parker said the seal design could be traced. Online vendors sold them. Novelty purposes only, they claimed. But people used them for fraud. If Michael's credit card purchased one 7 months ago, they'd find it. I looked at Michael's graduation photo on my desk, 18 years old, full of promise. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mom." That's what he'd said. Now he'd done this. With the skills I'd helped him build, I'd taught him to be organized, to plan ahead, to pay attention to details, and he'd used all of that to rob me. I turned the photo face down. Attorney Chen called Saturday morning. I've reviewed everything with my colleague who specializes in elder law. The evidence is strong, very strong. Bank statements, forged documents, fake notary seal, email trails showing premeditation. We have everything we need. Good. Barbara, I need to ask you directly. The civil case, we can settle that. Michael pays the money back, we drop it. But the criminal case is different. Once we file charges, the state takes over. Are you sure you want to do this? Press criminal charges against your son? I looked at the documents on my kitchen table. $37,400, 6 months of calculated theft, forged signatures, fake legal documents, systematic planning. Yes, I said. File the charges, all of them. Okay, she said quietly. I'll start the paperwork Monday. Barbara? Yes? This is the right thing. What he did, it's not just theft, it's betrayal. You have every right to protect yourself. She hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand. The attorney closed her folder. We need to file charges, criminal charges, against your son. I kept thinking about Thanksgiving. 12 years ago, maybe 13, Michael was 30, still married to Jennifer then. Tommy was a baby, not even walking yet. We'd hosted dinner at my house. David was alive. The table was full 8 people, maybe 9. Turkey, stuffing, all the dishes I'd made for 40 years. David carved the turkey the way his father taught him. Michael held Tommy on his lap, tried to get him to taste mashed potatoes. The baby made a face. Everyone laughed. After dinner, Michael helped me with the dishes, just the 2 of us in the kitchen. David was in the living room with Tommy and Jennifer, showing them old photo albums. Mom, Michael said, drying a plate, I need to tell you something. I waited, hands in soapy water. I'm organizing all my documents, will, insurance, banking stuff. In case something happens, I want to make sure everything's in order for Jennifer and Tommy. That's responsible, I said. You taught me that. Remember when Dad had his first heart scare? You had everything organized. All the medical records, insurance information, bank accounts, everything in one place. I remember thinking, that's what adults do. They prepare. They protect their families. He set the plate down. I want to be that kind of father, that kind of husband, like you and Dad. I'd hugged him, proud. My son was growing up, taking responsibility, planning ahead. You'll always take care of you, Mom, he said. I promise. I believed him. Monday morning, I went to the bank. Different bank. Not Bank of America where the fraud happened. A credit union across town. I brought everything. Driver's license, social security card, the police report Detective Parker had filed, Attorney Chen's business card, the transaction history showing $37,000 stolen. The account representative was young, maybe 25, efficient. She set me up with new checking and savings accounts, new account numbers, new online access with 2-factor authentication security codes sent to my phone for every login. You'll want to close the old accounts once this is established, she said. I already closed them. Good. And you might want to freeze your credit. With identity theft, sometimes there are credit cards opened in your name. Better safe than sorry. I hadn't thought of that. Credit cards. She showed me how to freeze my credit. 3 bureaus, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, all frozen. Nobody could open new credit in my name without me unfreezing it first. Nobody could steal from me again. The account representative slid 3 signature cards across the desk. New checking, new savings, new online access authentication. Just sign here, here, and here, she said, tapping each line with her pen. I picked up the pen, held it for a moment. My hand didn't shake. I'd been signing my name for 68 years. I knew every loop, every flourish, the way the capital B curved, the way the H connected to the E, the pressure I used for each stroke, the rhythm of it fast at first, then slower for the last name. Muscle memory built over 7 decades. Michael had studied my signature, traced it, practiced it, created forgeries good enough to fool a bank teller, but they weren't mine. They had the shape, but not the soul. This signature would be mine, not traced, not forged, not stolen. I signed slowly, deliberately, pressed the pen firmly into the paper, each letter formed with intention. Barbara Henderson. The account representative notarized each card, legitimate notary, real seal, witnessed by 2 bank employees as required by law. She handed me copies in a folder with my new account numbers. All set, Mrs. Henderson. All set. New accounts, new security, new boundaries. I walked out of that credit union carrying a folder that represented 43 years of savings, now protected, my signature, my accounts, my control. That afternoon, I installed a combination lock on my file cabinet, the kind you see on safes, 4-digit combination. I set it to 0825, Tommy's birthday, August 25th, the file cabinet that had been violated, where Michael had gone through my papers, found my old signatures to trace, learned my financial history, planned his theft. Now it was locked, and only I knew the combination. I created a new filing system, color-coded, red folders for current important documents, new bank information, attorney contacts, police case file, yellow for medical records, blue for property documents, green for tax returns. Everything organized, everything protected, everything under my control. I called Attorney Chen, told her about the new accounts. Good, she said. That's exactly what you should do. Protect yourself going forward while we pursue justice for what he took. I want to pursue everything, I said. Civil and criminal, every charge possible. We will. I'm drafting the civil complaint this week. Detective Parker is building the criminal case. The prosecutor's office will review it within 30 days. 30 days. Michael would know by then. The police would contact him, serve him with papers, tell him his mother was pressing charges. I'd thought about that, how it would feel to have him arrested, to see him in court, to testify against my own son. It would feel necessary. I'd been too trusting. That was my flaw. I trusted Michael because he was my son, because I'd raised him, because mothers are supposed to trust their children. But trust without verification isn't trust, it's blindness. My real strength had been my documentation. I'd kept every bank statement, every tax return, every legal document, filed and organized. That habit, the one David always teased me about, called me Barbara the archivist, that habit saved me. The evidence existed because I'd kept records. The fraud was provable because I could show what should have been there and what was actually there. The $37,000 wasn't just missing, it was documented. Transaction by transaction, date by date. Michael had been smart, but I'd been organized. An organization beats cleverness when you have the law on your side. I called Jennifer that evening, Michael's ex-wife. We weren't close, but we'd stayed cordial for Tommy's sake. Jennifer, it's Barbara. I need to tell you something. About Michael, I explained. The forgeries, the theft, the criminal charges I was filing. Silence on the other end. Then, oh my God, Barbara, I'm so sorry. Did you know he was having financial problems? Yes, the gambling. That's why I left him. Gambling? Online poker, sports betting. It started during our marriage. Small at first, then bigger. He'd hide it, lie about it. I found credit card statements, thousands in debt, cash advances. I confronted him. He promised to stop. He didn't. When I filed for divorce, his lawyer told the mediator I was the one with money problems, blamed me, but it was him. It was always him. Gambling. The money didn't go to custody lawyers. It went to online casinos, to poker sites, to betting apps. The desperation was real, but the cause wasn't what he'd told me. Barbara, Jennifer said carefully. A few months ago, Michael told the custody mediator you were getting confused, forgetting things. He said he was worried about your mental state. I didn't believe him, but I think he was laying groundwork. In case you found out about the money, he could say you were senile, that you'd authorized it and forgotten. He'd been planning that, too. The gaslighting wasn't reactive, it was premeditated, part of the strategy. "I'm pressing charges," I said. "Criminal charges. I wanted you to know, because of Tommy." "I understand. Barbara, I'm sorry he did this to you, and if you need me to testify or provide information about the gambling, I will. Tommy's relationship with you is separate from whatever happens between you and Michael. We can work out supervised visits. You're his grandmother. That doesn't change." After we hung up, I sat in the kitchen. Same chair, same table, but something was different. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a person who'd been robbed, and I was fighting back. I sat in my car in the parking lot afterward. 43 years I'd lived in this town, and I didn't know my own son anymore. Margaret knocked on my door Tuesday evening. She had a folder, thick manila folder, papers sticking out the edges. "Barb, I did some research. You need to see this." We sat at the kitchen table, same table where I'd spread out the evidence, where I'd signed Michael's name over and over in my head, trying to understand how he could do this. Margaret opened the folder, printouts from news articles, court records, public information requests. The notary name, Rebecca Martinez. I searched it. There are 3 other cases in the past 18 months, 3 other seniors, all financial exploitation, all with documents notarized by Rebecca Martinez, all fake. She laid out the articles. Woman in Dearborn, 74, lost $22,000 to her nephew. Documents showed her signature granting account access, fake notary. Same name, man in Ann Arbor, 69, $48,000 stolen by his caregiver. Power of attorney, fake notary seal, Rebecca Martinez. Woman in Livonia, 81, reverse mortgage taken out in her name. She didn't remember signing. Documents had been notarized. Rebecca Martinez again. $72,000 total, Margaret said. That we know of. These are just the cases that went public. How many didn't report it? How many were too ashamed? Michael's part of something bigger, I said. Maybe. Or maybe whoever he bought the fake seal from sold it to others. Or maybe it's a pattern people buy these seals online, use the same fake name because it worked before. Either way, you're not the only one. Margaret had highlighted passages, dates, details. She'd spent hours on this. Days, probably. Why? I asked. My mother lost $50,000 5 years ago. Grandchild scam. Someone called, said my nephew was in jail in Mexico, needed bail money. She wired it. Gone. I didn't catch it. Didn't see the signs. By the time I found out, the money was in some offshore account. Untraceable. I'm sorry. I couldn't save her savings, but I can help save yours. You're pressing charges. That matters. Most people don't. They're too embarrassed, too afraid of family judgment. But if you press charges, maybe the next person will too. Maybe we stop it. The letter arrived Wednesday, hand-addressed, Michael's handwriting. I recognized it from years of birthday cards and Christmas thank you notes. I almost didn't open it. But Attorney Chen had said, document everything, every contact, every communication. I opened it. Mom, I know you're upset. The divorce left me desperate. I was going to pay you back before you noticed. I told myself it was temporary, just until I got back on my feet. I see now how that was wrong, how that was another lie I told myself. I'm in treatment now, real treatment for the gambling. I want to be better. For Tommy, for you. Please don't press charges. Think of Tommy. He needs his father. A criminal record means I lose my job, lose custody. Please, I'm begging you. Michael. I read it twice. Part of me wanted to believe him, the part that remembered rocking him to sleep when he was a baby, teaching him to ride a bike, sitting in hospital waiting rooms when David had his heart attack, Michael's hand in mine. But another part, the part that had spread bank statements across this table and counted 17 wire transfers, that part saw it for what it was, manipulation, using Tommy as leverage. Think of Tommy meant, if you love your grandson, you'll let me get away with this. I filed the letter with the other evidence. Attorney Chen called Thursday afternoon. Michael's lawyer reached out. They want to settle. Full restitution over 5 years. He pleads to reduce charges, avoids jail time, keeps his job. I held the phone, thought about Tommy, about supervised visits instead of weekend sleepovers, about explaining to a 10-year-old why his father was in trouble. What do you think? I asked. I think it's your decision. The evidence is strong. We can win in court, but court means testifying against your son publicly. It means he has a criminal record. It means potential jail time. I was reaching for my calendar to schedule the settlement meeting when my phone buzzed. Email notification, bank fraud alert. Someone had tried to access my IRA account. Brokerage firm flagged it. Unauthorized access attempt. Account credentials didn't match security questions. Attorney Chen, can you hold on a second? I opened the email. The access attempt was dated that morning, hours ago, while Michael's lawyer was proposing settlement. He tried to access my IRA, I said, this morning while you were negotiating settlement. Silence on her end. Then, how much is in the IRA? $180,000. He wasn't settling. He was buying time. Detective Parker stopped by Friday. Official visit. Sat in my living room with his notepad. Mrs. Henderson, I want to be straight with you. Criminal elder abuse cases are hard to prosecute. Juries sympathize with family. Defense will paint you as the overbearing mother, him as the desperate son. It gets ugly. The civil case is cleaner. You get your money back without the trauma of a criminal trial. Part of me wanted the easier path. No courtroom, no testifying, no seeing Michael in handcuffs, just paperwork and settlement and money returned. Margaret was there. She'd brought tea, set a cup in front of me, said nothing. Let me think about it, I told the detective. That night, Margaret showed me more of her research. The fake notary Rebecca Martinez appeared in 3 other cases. 3 other seniors, $72,000 total. Same pattern, same seal. He's not the only one, Margaret said quietly. And if he can do this to his own mother, what about the next elderly woman he meets? Or the one after that? If you don't press charges, he knows he can get away with it. They all know they can get away with it. I called Detective Parker the next morning. I want the criminal charges, all of them. Michael hired a lawyer. Good one, apparently. Gerald Drake. Defense attorney who specialized in white-collar crime. Attorney Chen called me. Michael's attorney filed a motion challenging your competency, standard defense tactic in elder abuse cases. They're claiming you authorized the transfers and forgot. They want a mental evaluation, independent psychologist, cognitive testing. I'm not incompetent. I know, but they're going to try to prove you are. It flips the narrative. You're not the victim of fraud. You're a confused elderly woman who gave permission and doesn't remember. We'll fight it. But it means more time, more depositions, more invasive questions. Let them evaluate me. I'll pass. They'll also subpoena your medical records, looking for anything memory complaints, medication side effects, anything they can use to suggest diminished capacity. Michael wasn't just defending himself, he was attacking me. Jennifer called that week, Michael's ex-wife. Barbara, Michael knows I talked to you. His lawyer contacted me. They want me to testify that you were forgetful during Tommy's visits, that I was concerned about your memory. Were you concerned? No, you've always been sharp, organized. More organized than me, honestly. But Michael told his lawyer I'd expressed worries. He's lying. Again. Will you testify for him? No. I'll testify for you if needed. I'll tell them about the gambling, the lies, the financial problems he hid. But Barbara, he's telling people, family, friends, that you're going senile, that you're making accusations you don't understand. He's building his defense in public, trying to isolate you. Gaslighting on a larger scale. Not just making me doubt myself, making everyone doubt me. This wasn't a family dispute anymore. It was a legal investigation, then a fraud case. Now it was a criminal trial with defense strategies and competency challenges and character assassination. The kitchen table wasn't just evidence anymore. It was a war room, battle plans, attorney briefs, police reports, court filings, witness lists. I was filing motions, preparing for depositions, coordinating with prosecutors, learning legal terms I'd never needed before, discovery, pleadings, affidavits. This was my life now. Margaret brought a tuna casserole Wednesday evening. We didn't talk about the case. We ate in silence, watching Jeopardy. Some nights, support doesn't need words. When she left, she squeezed my hand at the door. "I'm right next door," she said. I knew. I saw Tommy at his baseball game Saturday. Michael was there. Opposite side of the bleachers. He kept his distance. Didn't look at me. Tommy waved from the outfield. I waved back. He didn't know yet. Didn't know his father had stolen from his grandmother. Didn't know there were criminal charges. Didn't know why we couldn't sit together anymore. He just knew I was there. That had to be enough for now. The envelope arrived Saturday afternoon. No return address. Typed label with my name and address. Local postmark. Inside one sentence. Typed, centered on white paper. Drop the case or everyone will know what kind of mother you were. No signature, no explanation needed. I called Detective Parker. He said threats like this were hard to trace. Anonymous. Could be Michael. Could be someone he knew. Could be someone from online who read about the case. No way to prove it. "Are you worried?" he asked. "No. Angry, but not worried." I filed it with the other evidence. A threat didn't change facts. Facts were facts. $37,000 stolen, forged documents, fake notary seal, attempted IRA access, criminal intent. Someone thought they could scare me into silence. They were wrong. The court date arrived. Michael's lawyer filed the motion claiming I was incompetent. They wanted a mental evaluation, 3 days of cognitive testing, memory assessments, psychological evaluation. I looked at Attorney Chen. "Let them evaluate me," I said. "I'll pass." The courtroom was cold. They always are. I'd worn a cardigan but still felt the chill. Or maybe it was nerves. County courthouse. Wednesday morning civil fraud hearing. Judge Patricia Morrison presiding. Middle-aged woman, reading glasses on a chain, efficient demeanor. She'd seen cases like this before. You could tell. Attorney Chen sat beside me at the plaintiff's table. Professional, prepared. She'd organized everything in 3-ring binders, tab dividers, color-coded sections, evidence exhibits marked and numbered. She'd told me this morning, "We have everything we need, just tell the truth." Michael sat across the aisle with his attorney, Gerald Drake. 40-something, expensive suit, practiced confident expression. He'd filed 17 motions in the past month, trying to delay, trying to dismiss, trying to block evidence. Judge Morrison had denied most of them. The courtroom smelled like old wood and air conditioning, high ceilings, American flag in the corner. Court reporter at her machine, fingers ready. A few people in the gallery. Margaret, Jennifer, a paralegal from Attorney Chen's office. Detective Parker sat behind the prosecutor's table. The criminal case was separate, different track, but he was here. Witness for the civil trial. Evidence for both. Judge Morrison looked up. "We're here for Henderson versus Henderson. Civil fraud action. Are both parties ready?" "Yes, Your Honor," Attorney Chen said. "Ready, Your Honor," Gerald Drake said. "Then let's proceed." Attorney Chen called her first witness. The plaintiff calls Dr. Patricia Wong. A woman in her 50s walked to the witness stand. Professional, composed, PhD in forensic document examination, 23 years of experience. Testified in over 200 cases. Attorney Chen established her credentials, then showed her the documents, the notarized letter from March, the power of attorney from May. "Dr. Wong, in your professional opinion, are these signatures authentic?" "No. Both signatures show characteristics consistent with tracing rather than natural signing." "Can you explain?" Dr. Wong pulled out enlarged photographs of the signatures, pointed to specific features. Natural signatures have consistent pen pressure throughout. These show hesitation marks places where the pen lifted and repositioned. The letter formation speed is wrong, too slow, too careful. Someone was copying, not writing naturally. Additionally, the baseline angle varies. When someone traces, they can't maintain the subtle variations that occur in authentic signatures. So these are forgeries? Yes. In my professional opinion, these signatures were traced from exemplars, probably from other documents bearing the authentic signature. Gerald Drake stood for cross-examination. Dr. Wong, isn't it true that signatures vary naturally over time, especially for elderly individuals? Yes, signatures can vary. But the characteristics I identified: hesitation marks, inconsistent pressure, baseline variations. These are specific to trace signatures, not natural variation. Could stress cause these variations? Stress might cause shakiness or irregular sizing. It wouldn't cause the specific pattern of lift and reposition that indicates tracing. Are you certain beyond any doubt? I am certain to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that these signatures were not written by the person whose name they purport to represent. Gerald Drake had no more questions. The plaintiff calls Karen Mills, Bank of America fraud investigator, 15 years in financial crimes. She'd examined my account activity, built the timeline, documented the pattern. Attorney Chen showed her the transaction history. Ms. Mills, can you describe what you found? 17 wire transfers over 6 months, March through September. Amounts ranging from $2,100 to $4,800. Each transfer occurred every 10 to 14 days. Each amount stayed under $5,000. Is that significant? Yes. Federal law requires banks to report cash transactions of $5,000 or more. The structured amounts suggest knowledge of this threshold and intentional avoidance. This is called structuring or smurfing, deliberately keeping transactions under reporting limits. In your experience, do people accidentally structure transactions this way? No. Accidental transactions don't follow patterns. They're irregular, random. This pattern shows planning. Someone who knew the rules and designed transactions to avoid detection. Gerald Drake stood. Ms. Mills, isn't it possible Mrs. Henderson authorized these transfers and simply wanted to avoid paperwork? If someone wants to avoid paperwork, they make one large transfer. They don't make 17 small ones over 6 months. That's more paperwork, more effort. The only reason to structure like this is to avoid regulatory reporting. But you can't say definitively that Mrs. Henderson didn't authorize them. The power of attorney document used to authorize these transfers has been determined to be fraudulent. Without valid authorization, these transfers were not authorized. Attorney Chen called 3 more witnesses. Detective Parker confirmed the fake notary seal investigation serial numbers didn't match any registered Michigan notary. Seal design was consistent with novelty items sold online. Margaret Sullivan testified to my mental clarity and daily routines, sharp, organized, managed finances independently. Attorney Chen presented the document timeline and legal analysis. POA lacked required witnesses, void under Michigan law. The plaintiff calls Barbara Henderson. I stood, walked to the witness stand, raised my right hand, swore to tell the truth. Attorney Chen started with basics: name, age, background, retirement, living situation. Mrs. Henderson, did you sign the notarized letter dated March 4th giving your son access to your bank accounts? No. Did you sign the power of attorney dated May 12th? No. Have you ever been to a notary named Rebecca Martinez? No, I've never heard that name before finding it on those documents. Did you authorize the wire transfers totaling $37,400? No, I didn't know about them until I checked my account in September. Mrs. Henderson, why did you press charges against your son? I looked at Michael. He was staring at the table. Wouldn't meet my eyes. Because what he did was wrong. He forged my signature, stole my money, violated my trust, and if I don't press charges, he'll know he can get away with it. The next person, whoever that is, they deserve better." Gerald Drake approached. Friendly smile, concerned expression. The act was obvious. "Mrs. Henderson, you love your son, don't you?" "Yes." "And you've helped him financially over the years?" "Yes, when he needed it." "Quite a lot, actually. Tens of thousands of dollars. When he was struggling, after the divorce. So it's fair to say you've been generous with your money when it comes to Michael?" "When he asked. Not when he stole." Drake paused, adjusted his approach. "Mrs. Henderson, isn't it true you've had memory issues recently?" "No." "Your son testified you misplaced items, forgot conversations." I leaned forward slightly, kept my voice steady. "I remember every signature I've ever signed. I remember every check I've written. I remember raising my son to know right from wrong. I remember all of it." Drake looked at his notes. Even under stress, especially under stress. Stress sharpens memory. You don't forget someone stealing from you. You don't forget discovering your son forged your signature. You don't forget seeing $37,000 missing from your account. Those memories are crystal clear. Your son says he was going to pay you back after he opened credit cards in my name, after he tried to access my IRA. That's not borrowing, that's stealing. Drake had no good response. He tried a few more questions about my relationship with Michael, about family tensions, about whether I understood the impact of criminal charges on Tommy. Every question I answered directly, honestly, without emotion or drama, just facts. Finally, Drake sat down. Gerald Drake called Michael to testify. Defense strategy, make him sympathetic. Michael took the stand. He'd lost weight, looked older than 42, exhausted. Drake asked him about the divorce, the financial pressure, the gambling addiction. "When did the gambling start?" Drake asked. "About 3 years ago. Online poker first, then sports betting. It got out of control. I'd win sometimes. Made me think I could win back what I'd lost, but I never did." "How much debt did you accumulate?" $60,000, maybe more. "And you were trying to hide this from your mother?" "Yes, I was ashamed. I kept thinking I'd fix it before anyone found out." Drake showed him the forged documents. "Did you create these?" Long pause. Michael's hands were shaking. He looked at me finally. First time he'd looked at me all day. "Yes, I did. I knew where she kept her important documents. I had keys to her house. I found old tax returns with her signature. I practiced, made templates, bought a fake notary seal online." "Why?" "Because I needed money." The gambling debts were crushing me. The collection calls wouldn't stop. I thought if I could just get enough to pay them off, I could stop, get control, pay her back before she noticed. "Did you intend to pay her back?" "Yes, that's what I told myself. But then there were more debts. More bets. It never stopped. And I kept taking." He broke down. Genuinely, tears, shaking. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm in treatment now. Real treatment. I see what I did. I see how wrong it was. I didn't know how to stop." I watched him. Part of me wanted to go to him, the mother in me, but the woman who'd been robbed stayed in her seat. Attorney Chen had a few questions on cross. "Mr. Henderson, you mentioned gambling treatment. When did that start?" 3 weeks after I was arrested." "So after you were caught?" "Yes. During the 6 months you were stealing from your mother, did you seek treatment?" "No." "Did you tell her about the gambling?" "No." "Did you tell her about the debts?" "No." "You lied to her, repeatedly?" "Yes." "You used your keys to enter her home without permission?" "Yes." "You forged legal documents?" "Yes." "You stole $37,400? "Yes." "And you tried to access her IRA $180,000. while your lawyer was negotiating a settlement. Michael looked down. Yes. So you weren't planning to stop. You were planning to take more. Yes. Judge Morrison reviewed the evidence. Methodically. Professional. She'd taken notes throughout, asked a few clarifying questions. I've reviewed the testimony, the documentary evidence, the expert analysis. Several things are clear. First, the signatures on both documents are forgeries. Dr. Wong's testimony was credible and detailed. The scientific analysis supports that conclusion. Second, the power of attorney was never properly executed. Michigan law requires 2 witnesses for a power of attorney. This document has none. It's void regardless of the signature issue. Third, the transaction pattern demonstrates intentional structuring to avoid reporting requirements. This wasn't accidental. This was calculated. Fourth, the defendant's own testimony confirms he created the forgeries, used them to access the plaintiff's accounts, and took $37,400 without authorization. She looked at Michael, then at me. This is elder financial abuse. Textbook case. The defendant exploited his position as the plaintiff's son. He exploited her trust. He used knowledge of her routines, access to her home, and familiarity with her documents to commit fraud. I find in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay full restitution $49,000, including the unauthorized wire transfers and credit cards opened in the plaintiff's name. Payment plan: $280 per month for 5 years, garnished from wages. I'm issuing a 5-year protective order. No contact with the plaintiff except for supervised visits with the minor child, arranged through the child's mother. All communication goes through counsel. Finally, I'm referring this matter to the prosecutor's office for criminal charges. Forgery, identity theft, and elder financial abuse are felonies in Michigan. The evidence presented today supports prosecution. The gavel came down. It was over. When the judge read the verdict, I didn't feel triumphant, just tired, relieved that it was over, but mostly tired. Attorney Chen gathered the documents. Professional satisfaction, but no celebration. This wasn't a victory to celebrate, just justice served. Michael sat at the defense table. His lawyer was talking to him, probably explaining what happens next. Criminal charges, probation, restitution payments, supervised visits with Tommy. I stood up. My legs felt unsteady. Margaret was there. She'd been in the gallery the whole time. She put her hand on my arm, steadying me. "You did good, Barb." I nodded. Couldn't speak yet. Outside the courtroom, Jennifer approached me, Michael's ex-wife. She'd been sitting in the back, listening. "Barbara, there's something you should know," she said. Michael entered a plea deal 2 weeks after the civil verdict. The prosecutor's office reviewed the case, Detective Parker's investigation, the civil trial evidence, the judge's findings, criminal charges, felony forgery, identity theft, elder financial abuse. The deal: 5 years probation, mandatory gambling addiction treatment, community service, no jail time if he complied with all terms and paid restitution on schedule. His lawyer had pushed for it, told him a trial would mean prison. The evidence was too strong. Michael's own testimony in civil court had admitted everything, so he took the deal. I wasn't there when he signed it. Attorney Chen called me with the details. Professional, matter of fact. "It's a reasonable outcome," she said. "He's accountable but not incarcerated. The restitution continues. Treatment is mandatory, and you have the protective order." My credit score would take 18 months to recover fully. The fraud was documented now, removed from my record. But the bureaus kept it flagged for a year and a half. Standard procedure, the credit counselor explained. Protection against future fraud attempts. The Bank of America had implemented new protocols after my case. Any power of attorney document now required legal department verification before processing financial transactions. Tom Bradford, the branch manager, had apologized. "It should have been caught. We failed you there." I didn't blame him. Michael was good at forging, good at planning. The bank's failure was procedural, not malicious. Margaret came over for coffee Saturday morning. Same routine. 7 o'clock? My kitchen. But this time she brought something besides tomatoes. A folder, pictures, articles from 5 years ago. I never showed you this, she said. My mother, the scam. I looked at the articles. Woman loses $50,000 to grandchild scam. Elderly widow wires money to fake grandson in trouble. Offshore accounts. Money never recovered. She died 6 months later, Margaret said quietly. Heart attack. But I think it was the shame, the embarrassment. She'd told all her friends about helping her grandson. Then finding out she'd been fooled, she couldn't face them. I'm sorry. She was 81. Sharp as a tack until that call, but they knew how to manipulate her, knew what to say, made her panic, made her act before thinking. Margaret's hands were tight around her coffee mug. I couldn't save her savings, but I could help save yours. She'd spent hours researching, finding those other cases, tracking the fake notary pattern, testifying in court about my mental clarity, all of it because she couldn't save her mother. You did save me, I said. Your research, your testimony. Margaret, you saved me. She squeezed my hand. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Attorney Chen didn't charge me for the final 3 weeks of work. Pro bono, she called it. After the civil verdict, the rest was follow-up. Court filings. Restitution arrangements. I don't charge for administrative work when the case is already won. But that wasn't the real reason. I knew it wasn't. My grandmother, she said during our final meeting, 20 years ago, financial exploitation by her caregiver, $40,000. We caught it, but barely. She was too ashamed to press charges, didn't want to admit she'd been fooled. Linda Chen had become an elder law attorney because of her grandmother. Every case was a chance to get justice her grandmother never got. You did the hard thing, she said. Most victims don't press charges against family. They're too afraid, too ashamed. But you weren't. That matters. She handed me her card. Personal cell number written on the back. If you ever need anything, advice, consultation, or if you want to speak at senior fraud prevention workshops, I run them quarterly. Your story would help people. I took the card. I'll think about it. Jennifer Michael's ex-wife called me 3 weeks after the verdict. Barbara, I wanted to tell you something. What Michael told you about me, about the custody issues, about Tommy choosing the cardiologist's house. Yes? It wasn't true. Not really. Tommy loves his father. Loves you. The house with the pool didn't matter to him. What mattered was stability, honesty. Michael was lying about money, lying about gambling. Tommy could sense it. Kids always can. She paused. I left Michael because of the gambling, because of the lies, but I never tried to keep Tommy from him, or from you. You're Tommy's grandmother. That doesn't change. Can I see him? Yes, supervised visits, like the court said, at my house. First Saturday of every month? I'll make sure Michael isn't there. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for pressing charges. Tommy needed to see that actions have consequences, even for people we love. Outcome 1. Financial restitution. The wage garnishment started immediately. Michael's paycheck sales commissions really took a hit. $280 per month, every month for 5 years. The first payment arrived in October. Check from the court, made out to me. $280 exactly. I deposited it. Opened a separate savings account. Restitution recovery, I labeled it. The money would accumulate over 5 years, 60 payments, $16,800 total. Not the full $49,000, but it was something. The credit card companies had already removed the fraudulent accounts from my record. 3 cards, $12,000 in charges, all documented as fraud, gone from my credit history. The bank had also flagged all my accounts, both old and new, with fraud alerts. Any unusual activity would trigger immediate notification. Two-factor authentication on everything. Security codes sent to my phone for every login. Every transaction over $500 required confirmation. Nobody was stealing from me again. Outcome 2. No contact order. The protective order was clear, 5 years. No contact except supervised visits with Tommy, once a month. At Jennifer's house. Michael couldn't call me, couldn't email, couldn't come to my house. All communication went through Attorney Chen. If Michael needed to discuss restitution or legal issues, his lawyer contacted my lawyer. If Tommy wanted to see me, Jennifer arranged it. The first visit happened in November. Jennifer's living room. Tommy brought drawings he'd made, baseball players, stick figures. He talked about school, about his team winning their division championship. I didn't mention Michael. Neither did Tommy. We just spent the afternoon together, like grandmothers and grandsons do. Michael wasn't there, per the order. But Tommy said, at the end, "Dad's in counseling now. He says he's getting better." "That's good," I said. 3. Legacy protection. Attorney Chen helped me restructure everything. Complete overhaul. New durable power of attorney. My niece Sarah. She was 45. Attorney herself. Criminal defense lawyer in Detroit. Sharp. Trustworthy. She'd review my accounts quarterly. Not because I couldn't manage them, I could, but because 2 sets of eyes catch what one might miss. Updated will. New clauses. Fraud protection language. Any challenge to my competence required evaluation by 3 independent doctors. Any contested provision required mediation before probate court. Safeguards against exactly what Michael had tried. Revocable trust for major assets. The house, the IRA, life insurance. Tommy was named as beneficiary when he turned 25. Educational trust in the meantime. Sarah as trustee. Protected legally. Nobody could touch it. The file cabinet got a combination lock, 4 digits. Tommy's birthday 0825. All critical documents moved to a safe deposit box at the credit union. Birth certificate, social security card, property deed, updated will, trust documents, copies stayed in the file cabinet, originals in the bank. I photographed everything, digital backup, stored with Attorney Chen's office, cloud storage with password protection, redundancy, protection, control. Others in brief, Michael was required to attend gambling addiction treatment 18 months, court mandated. Credit monitoring service for me 3 years, free from victim compensation fund. Protective order filed with all financial institutions, statewide automatic fraud alert on my social security number. Detective Parker's case, closed restitution ordered. Criminal plea accepted, file archived. I added Sarah's name to the house deed. Joint tenancy. If something happened to me, the house transferred automatically. No probate, no court involvement. Aunt Barb, of course. Tax implications were complicated. My accountant helped file amended returns. Michael had claimed me as a dependent 2 years ago, fraudulently. The IRS needed documentation proving I was financially independent. Forms, affidavits, attorney letters. Eventually cleared, but it took months. Legal costs totaled $23,000. Attorney fees, court costs, expert witness fees, detective time. The Victim Compensation Fund awarded me $8,000. Covered some, not all. But justice isn't free. Worth it. The letter arrived in December, forwarded through Attorney Chen's office per the protective order. She'd reviewed it first, made sure it wasn't threatening, then sent it to me. "Mom," I know sorry isn't enough. The gambling took over my life. I told myself I'd pay you back before you noticed. I see now how that was just another lie I told myself. I'm in treatment now. Real treatment. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't forgive myself. But I wanted you to know I see what I did. And I'm sorry. Michael, I read the letter 3 times. Part of me wanted to believe him. Part of me wanted to drive to his apartment and hold him like I did when he was small. But I didn't. I filed the letter with the other documents. Evidence of remorse, maybe, but not evidence of change. That would take years, maybe a lifetime. I'd support his recovery from a distance, hope he stayed sober, hope he stayed honest. But my file cabinet stays locked. My accounts stay separate. My boundaries stay firm. The file cabinet was different now. Same oak wood, same 4 drawers. But the combination lock caught the morning light. A small reminder every time I walked past. I'd reorganized everything. Color-coded system, red folders current legal documents, yellow medical records, blue property documents, green tax returns, everything labeled, everything protected, everything backed up. The forged documents, the notarized letter, the fake power of attorney, those stayed with Attorney Chen, court exhibits, evidence, part of the permanent record. My new documents were legitimate, proper witnesses, real notaries, legal filing stamps, everything done right. The file cabinet that had been violated now held my victory, small victory, quiet victory. But mine. I kept the court documents in a separate folder, red folder, legal resolution written on the tab, the civil verdict, the restitution order, the protective order, Michael's plea agreement, all of it, not to dwell on, just to remember I fought back. I won. Margaret brought coffee one October morning, 6 months after the verdict. We sat in the garden watching leaves fall. She didn't ask how I was doing. She didn't need to. The coffee was hot. The leaves were beautiful. Some days, that's enough. I attended Tommy's baseball game in November. Jennifer saved me a seat in the bleachers. Michael was there too, opposite side. Kept his distance. Followed the protective order. Tommy hit a double. Everyone cheered. For a moment, just a moment, it felt almost normal. Then I remembered it wasn't, and maybe never would be again. But almost normal was something. 6 months later, I stood in my living room with a different kind of document in my hands. Not a court order, not a legal filing, not evidence of fraud, an invitation. From the Senior Center, guest speaker request. Topic, financial fraud prevention. Share your story. I looked at it. Thought about Margaret's mother, about the 3 other seniors with the fake Rebecca Martinez notary, about everyone who stayed silent because of shame. I called the number on the invitation. Yes, I said, I'll speak. 18 months after the verdict, I live alone in the same ranch house. 3 bedrooms, paid off. Same street I've lived on for 43 years. The mortgage David and I took out in 1982 at 16% interest. The house where we raised Michael, where I taught him to tie his shoes, helped him with algebra, made him breakfast every morning before school. I'm not moving. This is home. My routine is mostly back. Coffee at 6:30. Morning newspaper, garden in the afternoons when weather permits. Margaret still comes over for coffee. 7 o'clock. My kitchen. Same ritual for 16 years now. The file cabinet has a lock. Combination 0825. Tommy's birthday. I open it once a week now. Not daily like before. Inside, everything's organized. Color-coded folders. Red for legal, yellow for medical, blue for property, green for taxes. The system works. My accounts have 2-factor authentication. Security codes sent to my phone for every login. Every transaction over $500 requires confirmation. My niece Sarah reviews the statements quarterly. Not because I can't manage them, I can, but because 2 sets of eyes catch what one might miss. The restitution payments continue. $280 per month. 19 payments received so far. $5,320 total. The account grows slowly. It'll take 5 years to reach $16,800. Not the full $49,000 Michael stole, but it's something. Tommy visits once a month. First Saturday, at Jennifer's house, supervised per the protective order. We spend afternoons together. He tells me about school, about baseball, about the book he's reading. I don't ask about Michael. Tommy mentions him sometimes. Dad's still in treatment. Dad got a new job. I listen, say I'm glad things are improving. Michael and I haven't spoken in 18 months. All communication goes through attorneys. The protective order expires in 3.5 years. I don't know what happens then. Maybe we talk. Maybe we don't. I don't hate him, but I don't trust him. Maybe I never will again. Both things are true. Some days I think about what happened. Some days I don't. But I protected what mattered. I protected myself. The estate plan is solid now. Sarah has power of attorney. The will has fraud protection clauses. The trust protects the house and IRA. Tommy's education fund is secure. When he turns 25, he'll have $50,000 for college or whatever he needs, protected legally. Nobody can touch it. I speak at the Senior Center twice a month. Financial fraud prevention workshops. Attorney Chen runs them. I'm the guest speaker who shares her story. The first time was hard, standing in front of 30 seniors, telling them my son stole from me, admitting I didn't catch it for 6 months, explaining how he forged my signature. But 3 people came up afterward, said they'd noticed odd transactions, wondered if they should investigate. I gave them Attorney Chen's card, told them to trust their instincts. 2 of them found fraud, early, before major losses. One was her daughter. The other was a home health aide. Both caught because they asked questions. That's worth the embarrassment of admitting my son robbed me. Margaret now leads the neighborhood watch, focus on senior financial safety. She brings new neighbors to meet me. Barb knows about document security, she says. I show them my file cabinet, the lock, the color-coded system, the backup procedures. The Bank of America changed their POA protocols after my case. Legal department verification required before any financial transaction. Tom Bradford, the branch manager, sent me a thank you note. Your case helped us fix a vulnerability, he wrote. 3 other victims, the ones with the fake Rebecca Martinez notary, they pressed charges too, after my case went public. 2 convictions. 1 plea deal, $72,000 total recovered. I can't get back the 6 months of fear, can't undo the violation, but I can help someone else avoid 6 months of theirs. Here's what I learned. Trust isn't the same as blind faith. Love doesn't mean giving up boundaries, and protecting yourself isn't the same as giving up on someone. If you're watching this and something feels off about your finances, trust that feeling. Check your accounts, review your documents. Look for signatures you don't remember, notaries you never met, transactions you didn't authorize, warning signs I missed, family member suddenly interested in helping with finances, request for emergency account access, documents appearing in my files I didn't recognize, small amounts disappearing regularly. If you notice any of these, act. Call your bank. Freeze your credit. Contact an elder law attorney. File a police report if needed. Don't wait. Don't hope it's a mistake. Investigate. And if it turns out someone you love stole from you, pressing charges doesn't mean you don't love them. It means you love yourself enough to seek justice. It means you're protecting the next person they might target. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have pressed charges against your own child? It's not an easy answer. There isn't one. But I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you know a senior who might be vulnerable to financial fraud, share this story. Maybe it helps someone catch it early. Maybe it prevents it altogether. The file cabinet sits in my home office. Same oak wood, same 4 drawers. The combination lock catches the morning light. I protected what mattered. I'm rebuilding. The house is quieter now. Some relationships changed forever, but I'm here. I'm standing, and nobody's forging my signature again. I look at that file cabinet every morning. It reminds me, I protected what mattered. I protected myself. Margaret still brings tomatoes from her garden. We still have coffee at 7 in the morning. Some friendships deepen through crisis. Ours did. Tuesday book club continues. The women know what happened, small town. Word travels. Nobody asks invasive questions. Linda brings extra cookies. Nancy always sits next to me. We discuss mysteries and thrillers now. I've had enough real-life drama. Fiction is safer. The file cabinet combination is 0825. Tommy's birthday, August 25th. I open it once a week. Everything inside is organized, protected. The cabinet that held my violation now holds my victory. Small victory, quiet victory, but mine. Morning sun comes through the kitchen window. My coffee steams in the blue mug Tommy painted in kindergarten. World's best grandma in permanent marker. Slightly lopsided. Perfect. Life continues. Boundaries firm. Independence maintained. This signature is mine.